Now it's your turn to live in luxury. Emily's voice rang through the phone, full of mockery. Her words made my stomach drop as I looked at my bank app. I was still weak from spending 2 weeks in the hospital after a terrible car accident, but the numbers on the screen shocked me awake. $75,000 in charges. Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Cartier. All while I was fighting for my life. My name is Olivia Parker, and I'm 34 years old. I've always known my sister-in-law, Emily, was jealous of my success. But I never thought she would do something like this. I found your credit card in your purse when I visited you, Emily continued, her voice smug. You always have everything while I struggle. Consider this payback for showing off. I forced myself to stay calm. Emily, do you realize that what you did is a crime? This is credit card theft. She laughed coldly. Oh please, we're family. Besides, you were unconscious. You should be grateful I was there to help John with the kids. Think of this as my payment. My husband John, Emily's brother, had been doing his best, taking care of our 2 children while visiting me at the hospital. He had trusted Emily to help. That was a mistake. You know what, Emily? I said, my voice steady. Thank you for telling me all this. It's very helpful. She hesitated. What do you mean? Oh, nothing. I just appreciate you explaining everything so clearly. There was silence. Then she scoffed. Whatever. You can't prove anything. John will believe me over you. He knows how dramatic you can be. I hung up and pressed the nurse's call button. A few minutes later, Angela, my nurse, walked in. Everything okay, Olivia? She asked. Angela, you mentioned the hospital installed new security cameras in every room, right? Ones that record everything, including sound. She nodded. Yes, they were added last month. Do you need the security team to check something? A smile for the first time since waking up. Yes, please, and can you call Officer Martinez? I need to report a theft. The next few hours were busy. Officer Martinez arrived, took my statement, and checked the security footage. The cameras had caught everything, Emily going through my purse, taking pictures of my credit card, and using it to make purchases. Mrs. Parker, Officer Martinez said, flipping through his notes, this is a clear case of credit card fraud. Would you like to press charges? Before I could answer, John rushed into the room, his face full of worry. Liv, what's going on? Emily just called me crying, saying you're lying about her. I pointed to the video on Officer Martinez's tablet. Watch this, honey. John's face changed from confusion to horror as he saw his sister stealing from me. When the footage showed Emily laughing and taking selfies with my credit card, his hands shook. She told me she came here to pray for you, he whispered, sinking into a chair. She said she was helping. She helped herself to $75,000 worth of luxury goods. Officer Martinez said, Mrs. Parker, shall we move forward with the charges? I looked at John. He seemed devastated. Then he nodded and squeezed my hand. Do it. Emily needs to learn that family doesn't steal from family. As Officer Martinez left, my phone rang. Emily again. This time, John answered and put it on speaker. John, thank God. Olivia's lying. She's trying to ruin my life. Stop, John said firmly. We have you on video. The hospital cameras caught everything. Silence. I can explain, she stammered. I was going to pay it back. I just needed. Save it for the police, John cut in. They're on their way to your house now. He ended the call. I sighed, suddenly exhausted. But for the first time in weeks, I felt at peace. Emily had used my hospitalization as a chance to take what she thought she deserved. Instead, she had exposed herself. John squeezed my hand. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have trusted her. It's not your fault, I whispered. But she's about to learn that stealing from family has consequences. Karma always comes back around. The next few days in the hospital were busy. Officer Martinez came back with an update while I focused on recovering. Emily had been arrested at her apartment, surrounded by shopping bags with price tags still on them. You should have seen her face when they put on the handcuffs, he said. She kept saying it was all a misunderstanding. But we have plenty of proof, security footage, her recorded confession, and the stolen items linked to your card. Meanwhile, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Emily had been spreading lies, telling everyone that I had given her permission to use my card and was now trying to frame her. One voicemail from my mother-in-law made me clench my fists. You've always been jealous of Emily's youth. She told me everything. How dare you try to ruin her life? John sighed and deleted the message. Mom doesn't know about the security footage yet. Emily's been lying to her. Then it's time we show her the truth, I said. That afternoon, Martha stormed into my hospital room, ready to defend her daughter. But her anger faded as soon as she saw the security footage. She watched in shock as Emily went through my purse, laughing about using my credit card while I was unconscious. When the video showed Emily taking selfies with it, Martha sat down, looking pale. I don't understand, she whispered. Emily told me you gave her permission. She said you were trying to make up for always showing off your money. John spoke gently. Mom, Emily stole from Olivia while she was in intensive care. There's no excuse for that. Martha's hands shook as she checked her phone, likely rethinking everything Emily had told her. All those designer bags she showed off. She said they were gifts from friends. The courtroom. A few days later, I sat in a courtroom for Emily's preliminary hearing. I was still sore from the accident, but I was determined to see this through. Emily smirked confidently until her public defender read out the charges. Miss Stevens, the judge said, the evidence against you is overwhelming. Security footage shows you stealing from your sister-in-law while she was unconscious. Do you understand how serious this is? Emily still thought she could talk her way out of it. Your Honor, this is just a misunderstanding. Olivia and I had an arrangement. She's always showing off her money, and she offered me the card to make things right between us. The judge's face hardened. While she was unconscious in intensive care. Emily stammered. The prosecutor stood. Your Honor, we have clear video evidence of the defendant entering Mrs. Parker's hospital room multiple times, searching through her belongings, and taking photos of her credit card. We also have a recorded phone call where she admits to the theft and mocks the victim's condition. For the first time, Emily looked scared. She glanced at John, but he didn't return her gaze. His expression was cold. His own sister had betrayed him. The judge sighed. Given how planned and deliberate your actions were, I'm rejecting the plea deal. We'll proceed with a full trial. Emily's lawyer quickly asked for a recess to talk to her. Outside the courtroom, we could hear Emily sobbing, finally realizing that she wouldn't get away with it. She had always believed she deserved my money, that family would protect her. But now she was facing real consequences. When the trial resumed, Emily's voice was barely a whisper as she agreed to take the plea deal. The judge set a date for sentencing and she was led away, her designer clothes replaced by an orange jumpsuit. Aftermath. As we left the courthouse, Martha approached us, her eyes red from crying. Olivia, John, I'm so sorry. I should have known Emily was lying. She's always been jealous, but I never thought she'd do this. I looked at her and saw someone who wasn't angry anymore, just heartbroken. We all wanted to believe the best of her, I said. But sometimes the hardest truth is realizing that someone we love isn't who we thought they were. 3 months later, I sat in a courtroom for Emily's sentencing. The prosecutor explained how she had planned this for months. Her internet history even showed searches about credit card theft and hospital security weeks before my accident. Your Honor, the prosecutor said, while Mrs. Parker was fighting for her life, the defendant, her own sister-in-law, took advantage of her condition for personal gain. The crime was planned, and the defendant only showed remorse when she was caught. We asked for the maximum sentence under the plea deal. Emily sat quietly at the defense table, no longer the confident person she once was. Her designer clothes were gone, replaced by a simple black suit. She had lost weight in jail, and for the first time she looked truly nervous. The judge turned to her. Miss Stevens, before I announce your sentence, do you have anything to say? Emily stood, holding a small piece of paper. Her hands shook as she spoke. I want to apologize, she said, voice trembling. I was jealous. Watching Olivia have everything I wanted ate away at me. When I saw her credit card, something in me snapped. I told myself she wouldn't miss the money that she owed me. But I was wrong. I studied her, wondering if she really meant it or if this was just another act. John squeezed my hand, his face unreadable. The judge remained firm. Miss Stevens, your actions show entitlement and manipulation. You stole from a sick family member and then tried to turn the family against her. This court cannot ignore that. Emily was sentenced to 18 months in prison and 5 years of probation. She had to repay everything she stole, plus fines. Her luxury items would be sold to help cover the debt. As the bailiff led her away, she looked back at us. The smugness was gone. Maybe she finally understood what she had lost. Moving forward. Outside the courthouse, Martha approached us. "I've been thinking a lot," she said. "I made excuses for Emily's jealousy for years. I should have seen this coming." I nodded. We all wanted to believe family mattered to her. John sighed. "The hardest part is knowing she planned this. She wasn't just taking advantage. She was waiting for an opportunity." Over the next few months, things changed. Emily's stolen items were auctioned off, though they sold for far less than she had paid. Her apartment was emptied, the last traces of her shopping spree cataloged and sold. She sent me letters from prison. At first, they were full of excuses and blame. But as time passed, her tone changed. 6 months into her sentence, she wrote, "I didn't just steal money. I stole trust. I broke our family. The worst part, I can't even blame you anymore. This is all on me." John rarely spoke about Emily, though I knew he was seeing a counselor. Martha joined a support group for parents of incarcerated children, finally facing how she had enabled Emily's behavior. I made a full recovery from my accident, though it took longer for the emotional scars to heal. The hospital even updated their security rules, using my case as a lesson. A year after the sentencing, I got an unexpected call. It was Emily's prison counselor. "Emily is doing well in our program," she said. "She wants to make amends. Would you be open to a supervised conversation with her?" I thought about it for a long time before saying no. Some betrayals cut too deep for an apology. Emily hadn't just taken my money, she had shown me who she really was. That night, I told John, "I hope she finds peace. But I don't need to be part of that journey." He nodded, understanding completely. We had learned a painful lesson about trust and family. Emily had lost everything, her freedom, her reputation, and our trust. No designer bag was worth that price. The last I heard, she was taking business ethics classes in prison, preparing for life after her release. Sometimes the most expensive lesson isn't paid with money, but with the people you lose along the way.